Dana, your reaction?
I think it's a complete miscarriage of justice, Grant. This is absolutely heinous, and it's an affront to our judicial system. Of course, this is kind of par for the course of how juries have been determining cases on the left coast for quite some time. This is awful. There are no words. I mean, honestly, this family had California. This is Grant. Honestly, this is how I look at it. California is not a safe state for people. California is not a safe state for Americans. California just declared that you can barely protect yourself, and they're barely going to allow you your right to self-defense, but the state's not going to protect you either. That's what this decision, that's what this jury declared, that's what California has declared to the rest of the country. So I hope that people in California are taking a good, hard look at where they live and determining whether or not that's the safest state to be in for themselves and their families, Grant.
Yeah. You know, Dana, you and I both talked about this case leading up to this verdict, and both of us had said, you know what? We're not confident a conviction comes through because it is San Francisco. You don't know what these people are thinking. You don't know what the deranged mind, and I will say this, the jury has to be deranged to come up with a verdict like this. It's San Francisco.
I mean, the fact that there wasn't even involuntary manslaughter is mystifying to me. And whether maybe it's a case where prosecutors overplayed their hand, that's sort of similar to what happened with Kaylee Anthony. Prosecutors overplayed their hand, and murder one is incredibly difficult to prove in a court of law. It's very difficult to get a conviction on that charge. And so maybe this had to do with the fact, though, that the guy just got essentially a slap on the wrist. He's already a prohibited possessor because he wasn't here legally. He's a double prohibited possessor because of all the felonies that are on his record. And then California's just aiding and abetting him. California is culpable in this. And might I add and remind everyone that Kate Steinle isn't the only individual that California has helped to kill just recently. Let's not forget Jamil Shaw Jr., Mr. All-American, a young high school student, football star, on his way home from practice when he was gunned down by illegal aliens in the street, and his dad, Jamil Shaw, who I've interviewed many times, Grant, ran out onto the sidewalk to find his son dying in the street. That young man was California helped kill that young man as well, because the illegal aliens that murdered that young man, they had not been deported. This is another sanctuary city action here. This is just, it's awful, and I worry about what this means for justice, Grant. And I also want to point out the fact that how many times have you and I sat here on your program? How many times? And we have discussed how law-abiding Americans who simply choose to protect themselves with their God-given Second Amendment right their characters are impugned, they are mischaracterized, they are attacked and excoriated in the press simply because of what we believe in. And anytime anything happens, it's always the fault of the law-abiding. Here you have an illegal alien criminal thug who murdered a woman, and it's not his fault. He was just shooting at a seal. And I agree with you, Grant. I fired that gun many times. That ain't how it works. And 3 times? Come on, no. This is a miscarriage of justice. It's a sad day.